If you don't like how your life feels, change how you live. You're not stuck because you're not capable. You're stuck because you keep repeating the same day, with the same habits, the same excuses, and the same mindset. And deep down you know it. You've had moments where you said, "I'm done," but nothing really changed. Why? Because you didn't follow through. You didn't stay consistent. You didn't push when it got uncomfortable. This video isn't here to hype you up for a few minutes. It's here to give you a real plan to change your life in 21 days, step by step. No fluff, just action. You don't need a perfect schedule. You need to stop wasting time. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop breaking promises to yourself. If you give these 21 days everything you've got, you won't just feel different, you'll be different. And people won't believe how fast you changed. This is how you become unrecognizable. Chapter 1. Decide you're done being the same every day. You know, one of the hardest things to admit is that we've been living the same way for too long. Day after day, week after week, we keep repeating the same routines, the same thoughts, the same habits, and deep down we know something isn't right. We know there's more in us, but we keep putting off the change. We wait for some magic moment, some push, some perfect time. But here's the truth. The perfect time never comes. The change doesn't happen by accident. It happens the day you decide you're done being the same. That decision is where your new life begins. You don't need another motivation video. You don't need a new book, a new app, or a new quote. What you need is to look at yourself and say, enough. You have to feel it in your bones. You have to reach that point where staying the same becomes more painful than changing. That's when you stop tolerating your own excuses. That's when you stop settling for just making it through the day. And that's when you start building a life that looks nothing like the one you're living now. You don't become unrecognizable in 21 days by doing what you've always done. You become unrecognizable when you stop accepting average from yourself, when you stop saying tomorrow and start acting today, when you stop looking for outside motivation and start holding yourself to a new standard. It all begins with a decision. Not a feeling, not a hope, not a wish, a decision. And here's the key. You have to decide with full honesty. Ask yourself, am I proud of how I've been living? Am I proud of the way I spend my time? Am I proud of how I treat my body? Am I proud of how I show up in relationships? Am I proud of my discipline? If the answer is no, you don't need to feel ashamed, but you do need to decide right now that this is the end of that version of you. You see, every person hits a point where they get tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. I'm talking about the tired that comes from pretending to be okay with staying stuck, pretending to be comfortable with being average, pretending that someday is still good enough. But the moment you drop the act, the moment you face the truth, you find power, you find clarity, you find the courage to start. And starting doesn't mean changing everything overnight. It means you begin by choosing better today. You show up earlier. You finish what you said you would. You say no to what keeps you weak. You say yes to what forces you to grow. And the more you do this, the more you start feeling like a different person. Not just looking different, feeling different, thinking different, moving different. Excuse me? Staffing issues, I think they may dislodge you, though it is still different. Thinking is different. Moving different. Thinking is different. People around you won't even recognize you. Not because of how you dress or talk, but because your energy is different. Your decisions are sharper. Your focus is stronger. But none of that happens until you decide. It's not about waiting to feel ready. Most people never feel ready. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait your whole life. You have to move when you're tired. You have to act when it's hard. You have to decide when it's uncomfortable. That's what creates change. And that's why most people never get there. They think they need to feel inspired to act. But real progress starts when you act even when you don't feel like it. Your current habits are designed to keep you exactly where you are, and that version of you is easy to recognize because it's the one everyone's already seen. But the next version, the unrecognizable one, that version comes from the day you say, "I'm not doing this anymore." No more late starts, no more skipping the hard work, no more blaming time, people, or problems, no more hiding. You make the decision, and then you back it up with discipline. You don't owe anyone else an explanation. You don't have to post about your goals. You don't have to talk about it. You just have to do it. Every single day, quietly, consistently, fully. The people who succeed don't always have more talent. They just made the decision and refused to go back. That's the kind of person you're building now. The kind that doesn't negotiate with weakness. The kind that doesn't let one bad day ruin the entire week. The kind that doesn't ask for permission to change. They just change. And here's what's powerful. Nobody can stop you from making that decision. Nobody can stop you from choosing discipline. Nobody can stop you from changing how you live today. Nobody can stop you from rebuilding your life from the ground up. People might doubt you, they might not understand you, but none of that matters. What matters is what you do when you're alone. What matters is how honest you are with yourself. What matters is that you stay committed when it's no longer exciting. This is the moment where it begins. Not next Monday, not next month, not when things are easier, not when you're less tired. Right now, you have to get fed up. Not angry at the world, not frustrated at others, but fed up with your own patterns, your own excuses, your own comfort zone. Because until you reach that point, nothing changes. But when you do, everything can change. People say they want to grow, they say they want a new life, but they keep waking up the same way, thinking the same way, acting the same way, and expecting something different. It doesn't work that way. You have to disrupt the pattern. You have to break it with force, and that force starts with a firm decision. This version of you has served its time. You've learnt from it. You've survived it. But it's not the version that will take you where you want to go. The new version doesn't wait for motivation. It creates it. The new version doesn't complain about time. It uses it. The new version doesn't stay stuck in fear. It moves through it. But again, none of that happens until you decide you're done. Not "I'll try," not "I hope," not "maybe." A full-bodied decision, a decision that says, "I'm changing because I refuse to stay the same." That kind of decision has energy, it has commitment, it has weight, and it forces you to move. You'll know you've made it when your actions don't match who you were last week. You'll feel it when your choices start to make people uncomfortable. When they ask, "Why are you being so different?" That's when you'll know you're on the right track. Because becoming unrecognizable means letting go of the version of you that everyone is used to, including yourself. So what you do now? You get serious. You stop brushing off the pain. You stop laughing off your bad habits. You stop calling your laziness self-care. You stop pretending you're okay with mediocrity. And you start working. Day one is simple. Just do the opposite of what your old self would do. That's it. If the old you hits snooze, You get up early. If the old you skipped workouts, you show up. If the old you said, "I'll do it later," you do it now. One day at a time. That's how it starts. And soon, people won't recognize how you speak, how you walk, how you carry yourself, but more importantly, you won't even recognize yourself. And that's the goal, to look back 3 weeks from now and say, I don't even relate to that old version of me anymore. That's the kind of change that lasts. And it starts with one powerful decision. I'm done being the same every day. Chapter 2. Break one bad habit you always ignore daily. You know exactly what habit is holding you back. You don't need a list. You don't need someone to point it out. It's the one you keep pretending isn't that serious. It's the one that shows up quietly every day, steals your time, your focus, your energy, and then disappears before you even notice the damage. It's not just a habit, it's a daily decision to stay where you are, and until you face it, nothing in your life will change. Real transformation starts the moment you stop ignoring the one thing that's been slowing you down the most. Not 10 things, just one. Just one habit you know you've allowed to stick around for too long. Maybe it's procrastinating. Maybe it's eating garbage you know is ruining your energy. Maybe it's constantly checking your phone and wasting hours on things that don't help you grow. Or maybe it's the habit of talking yourself out of action with excuses. Whatever it is, it's not small. It's not harmless, and it's not something you can afford to carry with you anymore. We don't become stuck overnight. We become stuck by the small things we do daily that quietly drain us. The unhealthy comfort you repeat each day starts to shape your identity. You tell yourself it's not a big deal, but after weeks, months, and years, it becomes who you are. And that's the problem. You start believing that version of yourself is permanent. But it's not. It's just a result of repeated patterns. And one of those patterns needs to be broken now. The reason this habit still controls you is because you haven't made it urgent. You haven't told yourself, this ends today. You've treated it like something you'll fix eventually. But eventually doesn't change your life. Deciding today does. There's no freedom in waiting for the perfect time. There's only freedom in action. So the question is simple. What are you going to stop doing today that you've been letting slide for too long? Don't say everything. Don't try to fix your entire life in a day. That's not how this works. Big change starts with one bold choice, and that choice is to break one bad habit. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. If you pick the right habit and break it with discipline, you'll start seeing results faster than you expect. Not just results you can see, but results you can feel. Your mind becomes lighter, your energy improves, your confidence grows. Because deep down, you finally prove to yourself that you're in control. That's what changes your life. Not reading more, not talking more, not planning more, but doing what you've been avoiding. You already know how this habit is affecting you. You've seen what it does to your time, your health, your progress. You've seen it stop you from going all in. You've seen it drain your motivation and feed your doubts. You've seen it become the reason you stay in the same place. So why do you keep allowing it? Because it's easy, because it's familiar, because it gives you quick comfort without demanding much from you. But you're not here for comfort. You're here to grow. You're here to become unrecognizable. And you can't do that while holding on to the very habit that's keeping you from leveling up. Every habit has a cycle. There's a trigger, an action, and a reward. And breaking the habit means interrupting that cycle. It means being honest when the trigger shows up and saying, "Not this time." It means replacing the old action with something better. It means not chasing quick pleasure, but chasing long-term pride. That's the difference between who you've been and who you're becoming. It's not supposed to feel easy. That's how you know it's real. You'll feel resistance. You'll hear the voice in your head telling you it's just one time, it won't hurt. But it does hurt. Every time you give in, you weaken your belief in yourself. You tell yourself you can't change, but every time you push through, even just once, you build a new version of yourself. And that version starts winning. You don't need to do it perfectly, you just need to be consistent. Missing once isn't failure. Quitting is failure. But choosing every day to fight back, to keep going, to stay committed, no matter how small the progress, that's success. That's how you build discipline. That's how you build confidence. That's how you start walking away from who you used to be. The key is to stop making excuses. You're not too busy to change. You're not too broken to improve. You're not too late to start. You've just been too comfortable allowing this habit to stay in your life. But now you see it clearly. You see what it's costing you. And once you see that, you can't go back to ignoring it. You have to be ruthless about what stays and what goes. If it's slowing you down, if it's making you weaker, if it's keeping you average, it has to go. There's no room for habits that steal your potential. There's no space for things that hold you back. Your time is too valuable. Your goals are too big. Your life is too important. This is not about being perfect. This is about being committed, about choosing to do hard things on purpose, about proving to yourself that you can change what's been holding you back for years. Because once you break this one habit, you won't just feel better. You'll feel unstoppable. You'll know that nothing controls you unless you allow it. You'll know that you can take back your life one decision at a time. So ask yourself right now, what's the habit I've been ignoring? And once you have the answer, don't try to justify it. Don't explain it. Don't defend it. Just remove it. Cut it off. Change your environment, change your triggers, change how you respond. Be proactive, be intentional. Be aggressive about protecting your progress. That one habit might be small on the surface, but it has massive impact. It's not about the size, it's about the repetition. What you do every day becomes who you are. And if this habit doesn't align with the person you want to be, it has no place in your life anymore. You can't carry old habits into a new life. You can't keep feeding weakness and expect strength to grow. You can't stay attached to comfort and expect greatness to show up. If you want to become unrecognizable in 21 days, this is the step that makes it real. Make the change visible. Let it affect how you move, how you think, how you speak, how you use your time. Let this be the shift where people notice something is different about you, not because you told them, but because your actions say it loud and clear. Every day you avoid this decision, you delay your progress. Every day you keep this habit alive, you stay attached to your old life. But every day you take control, every day you break the pattern, every day you show discipline, you build something powerful, you build the future. Don't talk about what you're going to do, just do it. Quietly, privately, repeatedly. Be the person who says, I used to struggle with that, but not anymore. Be the person who outgrows old patterns. Be the person who doesn't tolerate weakness. Be the person who sets a higher standard and sticks to it. This is how real change starts. Not with inspiration, not with hype, but with one hard decision backed by daily action. Break the habit. Break it fully. Break it now. Your future depends on it.
Chapter 3. Do what scares you even when it's uncomfortable. Most people live with fear, sitting quietly in the background of their lives, not the loud kind. Not the kind that shouts and panics. The silent kind. The fear that whispers when an opportunity shows up, the fear that tells you you're not ready, the fear that convinces you to wait. It's not always obvious, but it's there. It shows up when you get the idea to try something bold, and it tells you to shrink back. It appears when you think about speaking up, taking the risk, stepping into something unfamiliar, and instead of moving, you freeze. That fear has shaped more lives than failure ever has. If you want to become unrecognizable, you have to stop running from what makes you uncomfortable. You have to stop choosing safety over growth. There is no change in comfort. There is no transformation in staying where you feel secure. If you only move when it feels easy, you'll never get past average. What changes you is doing the thing that feels hard. What grows you is facing the thing you'd usually avoid. Fear doesn't go away on its own. It grows stronger the more you avoid it. Every time you dodge the thing that scares you, that fear becomes part of your identity. It becomes your normal, and then you wonder why you feel stuck. It's not because you can't move forward. It's because you've trained yourself not to. You grow by doing the exact thing your comfort zone tells you to avoid. The call you don't want to make. The truth you don't want to say. The challenge you don't want to take on. The person you're afraid to become. That's your path. That's your test. That's the door you have to walk through if you ever want to live a different life. You don't need to get rid of fear. That's not the goal. The goal is to move anyway. To feel it and go forward with it, still in your chest. To do the thing even when your hands shake and your voice breaks. That's what builds the real version of you. The strong version. The version who stops hiding behind hesitation and takes action without needing permission. You might feel discomfort, but that discomfort is proof that you're doing something worth doing. Easy things never change you. Comfortable choices never open new doors. Growth never happens when you feel in control. It happens when you take the step and trust that you'll figure it out on the way. Think about what you've avoided because of fear. Think about the chances you didn't take, the opportunities you passed up, the things you wanted to say but didn't, the places you wanted to go but stayed away from. How much of your life has been shaped by fear you never challenged? And how different would your life look if you just leaned into one of those fears instead of turning away? Doing what scares you is not about being reckless, it's about being honest. Honest about what matters to you. Honest about the actions you've been putting off. Honest about the areas where you've settled. You don't need more information, you need courage. And courage is only built through action. Courage is not something you feel first. It's something you earn through doing. You don't wait for courage to show up. You create it through every uncomfortable move you make. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. You start becoming the person who doesn't hesitate. The person who doesn't stall. The person who sees fear and doesn't walk away but steps right through it. Most people are chasing freedom while still avoiding the actions that would give them that freedom. They want confidence without risk. They want success without pressure. They want strength without effort. It doesn't work like that. If you want to break through, you have to do what scares you, even when you don't feel ready. You might be scared of failure. You might be scared of judgment. You might be scared of not being good enough. That's normal. But none of those fears should be enough to stop you. Not when your future is on the line. Not when your purpose is bigger than your comfort. You can't build a powerful life while playing small. You're not going to become unrecognizable by staying in the same loop every day. You become unrecognizable when you do something today that would shock the old you. When you take a step that the previous version of you would have talked yourself out of. That's the moment you know you're growing. Start with one thing. One situation that brings fear to the surface. One action you've been putting off. One conversation you've been avoiding. Take it on. Don't talk about it. Don't plan around it. Do it. Even if your voice is shaking. Even if your heart's racing. Even if you don't feel confident yet. Show up. Take the step. Let the fear be there, but move anyway. There's no timeline for growth. You don't have to have everything figured out today. But every time you face what makes you uncomfortable, you're creating a different future. You're making it harder for fear to control you. You're building a life based on purpose, not emotion. And over time, that becomes your new standard. Most people only grow when they're forced to. They wait for the crisis, the breakdown, the failure. But you don't have to wait for things to fall apart before you rise. You can choose discomfort on purpose. You can pick the hard path right now. And when you do that, you become the kind of person who doesn't need permission to grow. You stop waiting for someone to believe in you. You stop needing approval. You stop needing a guarantee that everything will work out, because you trust yourself. You know that doing the hard thing is already a win. The results come later. The confidence builds with repetition. The transformation happens in motion. You'll never regret the moments you were brave. You'll never look back and wish you'd stayed comfortable, but you will regret the times you let fear talk you out of your future. The opportunities you missed because you didn't act. The dreams you delayed because you wanted to feel safe. You don't need more time. You need to make the move. Pick something that scares you and do it before the day ends. Not next week. Not when it feels better. Today. Show yourself what you're capable of. Show yourself that fear doesn't get the final word. That your goals matter more than your doubts. That your future matters more than your comfort. There will be resistance. That's part of it. There will be moments where every part of you wants to turn back. But if you can push through those moments, if you can stay with the discomfort long enough to act, you'll unlock a level of growth that most people never reach. You don't become brave by talking about it. You become brave by acting on it. Not once, not twice, but every day. Every day you choose courage over comfort. You get stronger. You get more focused. You get closer to the life you were meant to live. The old you wants things to stay the same. The new you knows something better is possible. That version of you is waiting on the other side of fear. You just have to reach out and meet them. Not in a year, not in a few months, but right now. So ask yourself, what would I do today if I wasn't scared? What move would I make if I trusted myself fully? What action have I been running from that I'm now ready to face? And then do it. That's it. That's how you break the pattern. That's how you shift your identity. That's how you become unrecognizable in the most powerful way possible. By doing what scares you, especially when it's uncomfortable. By making bravery a habit. By turning discomfort into your training ground. And by proving to yourself that fear is just a feeling, not a limit.
Chapter 4. Fix how you talk to yourself when no one's around. The words you say to yourself when no one else is listening shape your entire life. Not the words you post online, not the things you say in public, not the conversations you have with others, but the private ones. The quiet thoughts, the ones you whisper in your mind when you're alone. That's where your real life is built. That's where your identity is formed. That's the place where either strength grows or weakness takes over. You can do all the right things on the outside, but if your inner dialogue is destructive, you'll never feel good enough, no matter how much you achieve. Most people lose before they even begin because of how they speak to themselves in silence. They say things like, "I'm not ready," or "I always mess things up," or "What if I fail again?" And they believe it. They repeat it so often that it becomes familiar, and familiar starts to feel like truth. That's the danger. You stop challenging the script, and you start living according to it.
You obey the voice in your head, even if that voice is tearing you down. You can't become a better version of yourself while treating yourself like you're broken. You can't build a stronger life while constantly telling yourself you're weak. The person you become starts with how you talk to the person you are, and if your inner voice is constantly criticizing you, comparing you, doubting you, then you're reinforcing failure even before you take a step. It doesn't matter how much discipline you have, how many hours you work, or how many goals you write down. If your mind is filled with negativity, you'll keep sabotaging your own efforts. You'll talk yourself out of progress. You'll tell yourself you're not good enough to keep going, and eventually you'll believe that staying stuck is the only option. That's why this change matters more than people realize. It's not about fake positivity. It's not about looking in the mirror and repeating empty phrases. It's about telling yourself the truth in a better tone. It's about being honest without being cruel. It's about holding yourself accountable without tearing yourself apart. It's about building a mental space where growth is possible because you actually believe it's possible. If someone else talked to you the way you talk to yourself, would you let them stay in your life? Would you listen to them every day? Probably not. So why do you allow your own voice to beat you down? You have to become your own coach, not your own enemy. You have to start catching the thoughts that drain your strength and replace them with ones that build you up. Not fake talk, not unrealistic encouragement, but real statements that keep you moving forward. You don't have to say, "I'm amazing," when you don't feel it. You don't have to lie to yourself. But you do have to say, "I'm learning." You do have to say, "I can handle this." You do have to say, "This is hard, but I've done hard things before." That kind of language matters. It creates a different energy inside of you. It gives you enough belief to take the next step. And sometimes that's all you need. Most people treat themselves worse than they'd ever treat a friend. If someone they loved made a mistake, they'd say, "It's okay. You can fix this." But when it's them, they say, "You're so stupid. You always screw things up." That double standard has to stop. If you want to change your life, you have to start treating yourself with the same respect you give others. Not with softness, but with solid support. Not with denial, but with direction. The way you talk to yourself is either your fuel or your poison, and you get to choose which one it is. Every time you mess up, you get to decide what you say next. Every time you fall short, you get to decide how you respond. And those decisions add up. One harsh sentence might not seem like much, but repeated daily, it becomes a belief, and beliefs shape behavior. That's why this matters so much. You can only rise as high as your mindset allows. You're not going to be perfect. You'll still make mistakes. You'll still have off days, but you can't let those moments define your entire identity. You have to remind yourself that setbacks don't erase progress, that struggle doesn't mean failure, that discomfort is part of the process, and you have to speak those reminders out loud, even if they feel awkward at first. You're not soft for encouraging yourself. You're smart, because you understand that success isn't just about external action. It's about internal alignment. You have to make sure your mind and your mission are moving in the same direction. If your actions say, "I want to grow," but your thoughts say, "I'm not good enough," you'll always feel stuck. But if your thoughts say, "I'm committed," and your actions match that, you'll start building momentum that actually lasts. The people who grow fast are not always the most talented. They're the ones who've learned how to manage their inner voice. They know how to stay grounded when pressure hits. They know how to calm their mind when fear shows up. And they know how to reset quickly when things don't go their way. That kind of control isn't magic. It's built through practice, through daily awareness, through choosing better thoughts when the old ones come knocking. You might not be able to control every thought that enters your mind, but you can control which ones you entertain. You can decide which thoughts stay and which ones go. And the more you do that, the more power you gain. You stop being a slave to your emotions. You stop reacting blindly to every fear and doubt. You start becoming the kind of person who leads themselves. That's what separates average from great. Not just what you do, but how you think. Not just how you perform, but how you recover. Not just how you show up, but how you speak to yourself before you even get there. That voice matters. It's with you more than anyone else ever will be. And if you don't change that voice, you'll never feel free, no matter what you accomplish. This is your chance to start building a better relationship with yourself. Not just for motivation, but for survival. Because life will challenge you. People will doubt you. Plans will fall apart. And if your inner voice is weak, those things will break you. But if your inner voice is strong, those same things will shape you. It starts with awareness. Catch yourself in the middle of a negative spiral. Don't let it continue unchecked. Interrupt it. Replace it. Say something that keeps you grounded. Say something that keeps you focused. Say something that reminds you you're not the same person you used to be. You don't need to be loud about it. You don't need to scream affirmations. You just need to be steady, calm, clear. You need to tell yourself the truth in a tone that makes you stronger. That tone becomes your strength. That language becomes your identity. The best part is, you can change it starting right now. You don't have to wait. You don't have to hit some goal first. You don't need anyone's approval. You just need to start speaking to yourself like someone who is serious about their growth. Like someone who respects the effort it takes. Like someone who refuses to tear themselves down again. That small shift, it changes everything. Because once you fix how you talk to yourself, when no one's around, you start walking with more clarity. You start moving with more purpose. You stop depending on outside validation to feel strong. And you begin creating a version of yourself that's no longer held back by self-doubt. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have all the answers to make progress. You just need to talk to yourself like someone who's on the way there. And you need to do it consistently. This is where real self-respect begins. Not in how others treat you, but in how you treat yourself when it's just you. Alone. Quiet. Focused. That's where the foundation is built. That's where the real transformation starts. And if you want to become unrecognizable in the next 21 days, this step isn't optional. It's everything. Chapter 5. Start saying no without feeling guilty or weak. There comes a point in your life when you realize that always saying yes is slowly breaking you down. Not because you're weak, not because you don't care, but because you've been trained to believe that saying no means you're letting people down, that saying no makes you selfish, that saying no means you're not helpful or kind or supportive. But here's the truth. Saying yes to everything is not a strength. It's a trap. It's a habit that drains your energy, steals your time, and fills your life with things that don't align with your purpose. You cannot build the life you want while constantly putting everyone else's needs above your own. You cannot reach your potential while filling your schedule with obligations that don't belong to you. And you will never feel at peace if every decision you make is driven by guilt. That's not growth. That's emotional pressure controlling your life. And that ends when you learn how to say no with confidence and without shame. You are allowed to protect your time. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to choose what you give your energy to. That's not selfish. It's responsible, because every yes comes with a cost. Every time you agree to something that doesn't serve your goals, you're spending energy that could have been invested in something meaningful. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. They say yes out of habit, out of fear, out of pressure, and slowly they lose control of their own life. The ability to say no without guilt is one of the strongest forms of self-respect. It means you've stopped living to please everyone. It means you've accepted that not everyone will understand your decisions, and that's okay. It means you know your priorities and you're willing to protect them, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Because at the end of the day, your life is yours, and if you don't set boundaries, no one else will. You're not here to make everyone happy. That's not your job, and the people who truly value you won't leave when you start saying no. In fact, they'll respect you more, because they'll see that you take your time and energy seriously, that you're not a doormat, that you're someone with purpose, direction, and the courage to protect both. It's not always easy, especially if you've been a people pleaser for most of your life, especially if you grew up thinking that being good means never disappointing anyone. But being good doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means doing what's right, and what's right isn't always what's convenient for others. Sometimes you'll say no, and people will be surprised. They'll question you, they'll push back. But that's part of growth. That's part of taking control. You don't need to explain every decision. You don't owe people your time just because they ask for it. You don't have to feel bad for choosing your own path. That guilt you feel, it's just the discomfort of unlearning an old habit. It's not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're finally putting yourself first. And putting yourself first doesn't mean ignoring others. It means you've stopped ignoring yourself. It means you recognize that your mental health matters, that your goals matter, that your well-being matters, and you've realized that constantly sacrificing your own needs just to keep everyone else comfortable is not sustainable. Saying no is not rejection, it's redirection. It's saying I respect you, but I also respect myself. It's saying I care, but I have limits. It's saying I want to help, but not at the cost of my own peace. That kind of strength is rare. That kind of clarity is powerful. And once you learn how to say no without feeling weak, you start taking your life back piece by piece. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be aggressive. You just have to be clear. Say it calmly. Say it firmly. Say it with honesty. You don't have to justify it with long explanations. You don't need an excuse. You don't need approval. You just need to own your time. Start small. Practice it in situations that feel manageable. Build the muscle, and over time you'll notice something shift. You'll notice that you feel lighter. You'll notice that your schedule isn't packed with things you don't care about. You'll notice that your decisions feel more aligned, and you'll realize that you don't miss the things you said no to, because you never really wanted to say yes in the first place. Saying no opens the door to things that actually matter. It creates space for better choices. It gives you time to rest, to grow, to create, to build. You stop living in reaction mode and start living with intention. And that shift, going from reactive to intentional, that's where you start becoming someone new. You'll stop being resentful. You'll stop feeling like you're always stretched thin. You'll stop feeling like your life is out of your control, and you'll start building a life that feels like it belongs to you. That's the reward for every no you say to something that doesn't serve you. There's no pride in being available to everyone all the time. There's no honor in being so busy that you lose sight of what really matters. If you want to grow, you have to say no to things that feel familiar but keep you stuck. You have to say no to people who only come around when they need something. You have to say no to events that drain your energy. You have to say no to patterns that steal your focus. You don't need to feel guilty for needing space. You don't need to feel weak for setting limits. You're not doing anything wrong by creating boundaries. You're doing what every strong person has to do at some point. You're choosing purpose over approval, and the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Over time, people will adjust. Some may not like it, some may drift away, but the ones who belong in your life will respect your boundaries. And more importantly, you'll begin to respect yourself, because you'll know that your time is valuable, that your energy isn't unlimited, that your life is too important to be spent on things that don't move you forward. This is where real strength is built. Not in how much you can carry, but in how wisely you protect your energy. Not in how often you say yes, but in how confidently you say no. That strength doesn't always feel good at first. It might feel strange. It might feel selfish. But it's not. It's necessary. Because every no you say to what drains you is a yes to something better. This is what it looks like to take back your power. You stop letting guilt decide your schedule. You stop letting fear of rejection shape your life. You stop letting other people's expectations control your decisions. And you start living from a place of purpose. You start building a life that feels right, not one that just looks good to others. You don't need anyone's permission to choose what's right for you. You don't need anyone's approval to protect your energy. You don't need to apologize for valuing your own well-being. You just need to stand firm, to be honest, to know that saying no is not weakness, it's wisdom. The truth is, you're not here to serve everyone else's story. You're here to write your own, and that story gets better every time you choose yourself, every time you draw a line, every time you decide that your life is worth protecting. So stop saying yes just to be liked. Stop saying yes to avoid awkward moments. Stop saying yes to things you've outgrown. Start saying no without guilt, without hesitation, without second guessing. That decision will free you. That decision will clear your mind. That decision will bring you back to yourself. And that version of you, the one who stands tall, protects their peace, honors their purpose, that version is who you've been trying to become all along.
Chapter 6. Use your pain as fuel and stop feeling stuck. Everyone carries pain. Some hide it behind smiles, some bury it in silence, and some let it consume their thoughts day and night. Pain is part of life. There's no way around it. You get hurt, you get disappointed, you lose people, you go through things you never expected. And for most people, that pain becomes a wall. It stops them. It freezes them. It convinces them that something is permanently broken. They keep replaying what happened. They hold on to the story, and slowly, they stop moving. But pain doesn't have to be a prison. It doesn't have to be the reason you stay stuck. It can be fuel. It can be the very thing that drives you forward. It can push you into strength if you stop running from it and start facing it head on. You've already felt it. You've already been through it. You already know how heavy it is. So why not use it for something that builds you? Why not turn that pain into power and refuse to let it go to waste? You see, pain becomes dangerous when you keep it inside and never do anything with it. When you use it to justify quitting. When you use it to explain why you can't change. When you treat it like a reason to stop trying. But pain has potential. When you choose to feel it fully, learn from it, and move with it, it transforms. It becomes the fire that keeps you alive. It gives your actions meaning. It reminds you of what matters. It shows you what you will no longer accept. You can't avoid what you've already lived through. The question is, what will you do with it now? Will you let it harden you, or will you let it shape you into someone stronger? Most people let their pain define them. They make it part of their identity. But you don't have to carry that pain the same way anymore. You don't have to replay the story of what went wrong.
You don't have to sit in the past waiting for closure that may never come. You can choose right now to turn your pain into action, not by ignoring it, not by pretending it never happened, but by deciding that you're no longer going to let it control how you live. That's where freedom begins. That's where movement starts again. You've already survived the hardest parts. The pain didn't destroy you. It revealed something inside of you that's still here, still breathing, still fighting. That part of you is who you build with now. It's not about being numb. It's not about faking strength. It's about refusing to stay in the same emotional space forever. You can grieve and still move forward. You can hurt and still work on yourself. You can feel loss and still build something new. Stuck is a feeling, not a fact. You're not stuck because life is over. You're stuck because you keep feeding the idea that you can't move on. You need to let that belief die. You need to stop telling yourself that healing has to take forever. That just because it happened, it has to define your whole life. It doesn't. What happened was real. It mattered. But so does what happens next. And that's what you get to choose. Use the pain as a reminder of what you don't want to feel again. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it make your work ethic more intense. Let it push you to treat your goals with more urgency. Let it guide your priority. Let it show you how short life is and how deeply you need to take your time seriously. The most powerful people you'll ever meet are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who turned pain into progress, who used heartbreak, loss, rejection, betrayal, failure, not as an excuse to stop, but as a reason to go harder. That's what you need to build now. Not comfort, not avoidance, but strength. Strength that says, I'm not going to carry this pain for no reason. I'm going to make sure it builds something that matters. The world is filled with people who gave up because it hurt too much. And it's easy to understand why. Pain drains you. It steals your energy. It clouds your thinking. But if you let it sit too long without direction, it starts to grow into bitterness, into regret, into a feeling that life is against you. You cannot allow that to become your mindset. You cannot hand over the rest of your life to something that already happened. It's time to stand back up, not because you're fully healed, not because everything is perfect, but because there's more inside of you, because there's still a future to build, because you still have the ability to take a step, even if it's small. That step is how you regain your power. That step is how you shift from pain to progress. You have to stop telling yourself that it's too late, that you missed your chance, that things can't be different. You have to shut that voice down completely. And the way you do that is by doing something. Get up earlier. Move your body. Talk to someone you trust. Write down what you're carrying. Create something. Work on a skill. Clean your space. Take one action that brings order back into your life. Pain creates chaos. Your job now is to rebuild order, one piece at a time. And you don't need a big plan. You just need consistency. You need to show yourself that you're not helpless, that you're not broken beyond repair, that the pain may have shaken you but it didn't end you. You're still here. That means there's still work to do. That means you still have the power to choose. And when you use that pain, when you wake up and say, I'm not letting this break me, you become someone new. You start to become someone who lives with depth, with intensity, with direction. That's how you start creating a life that feels powerful, not just in public, but in private too. The days you feel the most pain are the days that hold the most potential, because that's when your decisions matter more than ever. It's easy to stay focused when everything's going well, but when you're hurting and you still choose discipline, when you still choose action, when you still choose to keep moving. That's where real identity is built. Nobody is coming to do this for you. Nobody else can feel what you feel. Nobody else knows what this pain has done to your mind, but you do. And that's why you're the one who has to turn it into something meaningful. You owe it to yourself to not let this pain be the reason you stop. You don't get stronger by avoiding pain. You get stronger by using it, by turning the weight of it into effort, by turning the lessons from it into wisdom, by turning the memory of it into clarity. The pain doesn't disappear, but it becomes something useful, something valuable, something that fuels your purpose. You will not feel like doing this every day. That's okay. You will have moments where the pain shows up out of nowhere, where it feels like it's too much. But that's when you breathe and remind yourself that this feeling will not control you anymore. That's when you ground yourself and take one small step. That's when you speak strength over your life, even if you don't fully believe it yet. You're building something different now. You're not stuck. You're just healing. And healing doesn't mean standing still. It means working through the pain with purpose. It means showing up for yourself every day, even when it's hard. It means choosing not to waste one more day feeling powerless. You didn't choose the pain, but you get to choose what it becomes. Make it fuel. Make it strength. Make it the reason you become someone no one saw coming. Someone powerful. Someone focused. Someone who turned the hardest part of their story into the strongest part of their identity. That version of you is waiting. And every action you take, every moment you push through, brings you closer. Not to forget what happened, but to rise in spite of it, to own it, to turn it into fire, to turn it into a life you're proud of. That's how you stop feeling stuck. That's how you make your pain mean something real.
Chapter 7. Stop explaining yourself and just show real results. There comes a time when talking no longer works, when explaining your vision, your choices, your struggles, and your goals becomes nothing more than wasted energy. People hear you, but they don't understand you. They nod, but they don't believe you. They listen, but they still doubt you. That's when you need to stop using words and start using results. Not for their approval, not for their applause, but because actions are the only proof that silence can't argue with. When you're serious about growth, you stop trying to convince anyone, you just start showing them what's real. Most people talk too much about what they're going to do. They announce their plans, they defend their process, they try to explain why they haven't made progress yet. But the truth is, the world doesn't need another explanation. It needs execution. It needs proof. And the only way to prove anything is through visible, consistent results that can't be ignored. You don't have to say a word when your actions speak with clarity. When your discipline shows up every day, when your work ethic becomes obvious, when your habits are aligned with your future, explaining yourself constantly comes from insecurity. It comes from trying to be understood by people who don't have your perspective. It's a form of seeking comfort through validation. But when you get serious about transformation, you stop needing that. You stop chasing acceptance. You stop watering yourself down to make your life easier for others to understand. Because once you've made up your mind, you don't owe anyone a breakdown of your every move. You owe yourself results. The more you explain, the more energy you waste trying to manage other people's opinions. And while you're doing that, you're not moving. You're not building. You're not producing anything that makes a difference. That's how time gets lost, defending what doesn't need to be defended. Every second spent explaining yourself is time you could have used getting better. Time you could have used building your skill. Time you could have used proving to yourself that you're not the same anymore.
You don't have to respond to every doubt. You don't have to argue with every critic. You don't have to convince anyone of what's coming. You just have to show up and work in silence until the results start speaking for you. Because when results appear, the same people who doubted you won't need an explanation. They'll see it for themselves. And by then, you won't care if they do or don't. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to build something real, and real progress requires focus. Focus that can't be broken by opinions. Focus that doesn't slow down to answer questions. Focus that's locked in on the outcome, not the noise surrounding it. The truth is, not everyone needs to get it. Not everyone needs to support it. Not everyone needs to agree with how you're changing. Some people will misunderstand you on purpose. Some people want to keep you in a box they're comfortable with. The moment you start growing past that box, they'll push back. They'll question you. They'll throw comments your way. Not because you're wrong, but because your growth threatens their comfort. And that's exactly why you need to stop explaining yourself. Because growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's invisible for a while. Sometimes it's just you waking up early, staying focused, doing the hard things nobody sees, and staying consistent long enough to outgrow every expectation anyone had for you. That's what matters. Not the explanation, but the evolution. You're allowed to move in silence. You're allowed to set goals that you keep to yourself. You're allowed to change your life without broadcasting every step. In fact, that's often where real power is built. In the moments nobody claps for, in the days where no one's watching, in the grind that doesn't look impressive yet, but is shaping something strong beneath the surface. When you stop explaining yourself, you start keeping your power. You stop leaking energy trying to make people understand, and you start channeling that energy into something that matters. You start valuing your progress more than your reputation. You start caring less about what people think and more about what you're actually building. And here's the shift that happens when you start doing this. Your confidence grows, not because people praise you, but because you know what you're doing. You know what it costs. You know what it takes. And you're living that truth daily. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It can't be talked into existence. It's earned. It's built through quiet discipline, through early mornings, through late nights, through missed events and hard choices, and consistent action. You don't need to post about your moves. You don't need to announce your next steps. You don't need to explain why you're different now. You just need to live it. Every day. And over time, the difference becomes so obvious that even the most doubtful voices go silent. You'll know you're on the right path when your circle gets smaller, but your focus gets sharper. When you stop arguing and start producing. When you stop defending and start delivering. When you stop justifying and start showing up with undeniable work. Real growth doesn't seek approval. It seeks progress. Real strength doesn't ask for permission. It just starts showing up with results that can't be ignored. And when that shift happens inside of you, you'll start feeling lighter, more clear, more driven. Because you're no longer carrying the weight of people's opinion. You're no longer trying to prove yourself to people who aren't even paying attention. You're no longer explaining a journey that they were never meant to understand in the first place. Let your actions introduce you. Let your discipline speak for itself. Let your results do the talking. And while everyone else is still explaining, still defending, still talking about what they're going to do, you'll be ahead. Not because you shouted louder, but because you worked harder. This kind of shift doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes intention. It takes catching yourself in those moments where you feel the need to explain and choosing not to. Choosing to walk away from the conversation. Choosing to get back to work, choosing to let your consistency say what your words no longer need to. And once that habit is built, it becomes part of who you are. Someone who doesn't just talk about potential, but lives it. Someone who doesn't just describe goals, but achieves them. Someone who doesn't just share dreams, but wakes up and works on them until they're real. You don't need applause to be effective. You don't need an audience to be excellent. You don't need validation to stay consistent. You just need a reason, a purpose, a vision that's stronger than your need to be understood. That's when everything changes. That's when the noise fades and the results start showing up. And they will show up if you stay focused, if you stay committed, if you stay locked in on the work and let go of the need to be seen. The world is full of people who talk. Be the one who shows. Be the one who builds. Be the one who rises quietly and proves everyone wrong. Not with arguments, but with results they can't ignore. That's how you become unrecognizable. That's how you level up. That's how you...
Chapter 8. Work on yourself when nobody claps or cares. The real change doesn't happen when people are watching. It doesn't happen when you're being praised, supported, encouraged, or applauded. The real change happens in the quiet. It happens when no one notices. It happens when you keep showing up even though nobody says thank you. When you keep going even though nobody claps. When you put in the work not for attention, but because you're committed to something bigger than how you feel. You have to be able to keep working on yourself when there's no spotlight, when no one checks on you, when nobody asks how you're doing or sees how much effort you're putting in. That's the test. That's the part most people quit. They want growth, but only if someone is watching. They want to improve, but only if someone cheers them on. The truth is, nobody's coming to cheer for you every day. Nobody's going to push you every morning. Nobody's going to wake up for you, work for you, stay disciplined for you. You've got to decide what kind of person you're going to be when it's just you and the work, just you and the pain, just you and the resistance, just you and the question, am I really built for this? And you answer it by showing up, not once, every single day, when the mood is gone, when the motivation isn't there, when you feel like it's not working. That's when it counts. It's easy to be disciplined when people are watching. It's easy to push hard when you know someone will notice. But what about when nobody notices? What about when nobody says a word, when no one gives you credit? Can you still keep your standard? Can you still act like it matters? Because it does. And the ones who keep showing up during those seasons are the ones who rise later in ways nobody can ignore. You have to stop needing someone else to push you. You have to stop depending on feedback to stay consistent. You have to your own source of fuel, not by pretending everything's fine, not by forcing fake confidence, but by knowing that this work you're doing, even when no one sees it, is building a foundation that no one can take from you. You don't become strong by being celebrated. You become strong by choosing discipline in silence, by putting in the effort without recognition, by training your mind to focus on the process, not the praise. That's where real power lives. That's where character is built. When you do the hard thing, not because it feels good, but because it's the right thing to do. And yes, there will be days where you wonder if it's worth it. Days where the lack of results feels heavy. Days where the silence feels louder than ever. But that's the point where you either become stronger or you break. And breaking isn't about falling down. It's about choosing not to stand up again. It's about deciding that the effort isn't worth it, just because no one clapped for it. But that's where you prove who you are. That's where you prove you're not doing this for attention. You're doing it because this version of you isn't good enough anymore. You're doing it because the life you want requires a different standard,
a standard that doesn't change based on who's watching. The truth is, most of the progress you make won't be visible at first. It'll happen quietly. Your mindset will start to shift. Your self-respect will start to grow. Your choices will start to sharpen. And it won't be flashy. It won't be Instagram-worthy. But it'll be real. It'll be steady. And eventually, it'll be undeniable. You'll walk into rooms differently. You'll carry yourself with quiet confidence. You'll stop needing approval because you've already proven it to yourself in private. That's the real prize. Not the applause, but the transformation. Not the likes, but the lifestyle. Not the compliments, but the consistency. Working on yourself in silence teaches you patience. It teaches you grit. It teaches you how to keep your word to yourself. That's something no one can give you, and it's something no one can take away either. Once you've built it, it's yours. That kind of confidence is unshakable. That kind of growth is unbreakable. But to get there, you have to push through the lonely days, the days when progress feels invisible, the days when you wonder if anything's changing. You have to keep doing the work anyway. Keep waking up early. Keep saying no to distractions. Keep learning. Keep improving. Keep sharpening yourself. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting, but it's necessary. And the ones who endure this part, the silent grind, are the ones who later get results no one can question, because those results weren't handed to them. They were earned in the dark. They were built when nobody cared. This is where you separate yourself. While others are busy waiting for motivation, you're building habits. While others are waiting to be noticed, you're refining your discipline. While others are looking for shortcuts, you're staying the course. That's the difference. That's what makes someone unrecognizable in the best way possible. It's not about working non-stop without rest. It's about staying true to your path, even when the outside world offers you nothing in return. It's about knowing that what you're building isn't just about results. It's about who you're becoming in the process. That's what lasts. That's what matters. So if you're in a season right now where it feels like nobody notices, where nobody says thank you, where your effort goes unseen, good. That's your training ground. That's where you develop the strength to keep going regardless. That's where you build your own momentum. Don't waste time waiting for someone to validate your progress. Validate it yourself by staying disciplined. Validate it by being the kind of person who does the work whether or not someone is clapping. Validate it by finishing what you start, even if nobody ever sees the finished product, because eventually, they will. Eventually, the results will become visible. The growth will be too obvious to ignore, and people will ask how you did it. But by then, you won't need to explain it. You'll already know the answer. You did the work when it was quiet. You stayed focused when nobody believed. You kept going when it felt like no one cared. And now, you don't need applause. You don't need attention. You don't need noise, because what you built in silence is now stronger than anything they could say. Keep working. Keep showing up. Keep doing the hard things even when no one's watching. That's where greatness begins. That's how you rise. That's how you become someone the old version of you wouldn't even recognize. And that's how you build a life that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. Just your own. Chapter 9. Take back your time like your life depends on it. Time is the most valuable thing you have, and most people treat it like it's endless. They throw hours away like they'll get more later. They scroll through their day. They waste time on things that don't mean anything. They let distractions win. They let people pull them in every direction. And without even noticing it, they give away their entire life piece by piece, not all at once, just slowly. They give their time to things that don't matter and end up living a life that doesn't matter either. If you want to change everything, you have to take back your time. Not casually, not when it's convenient, like your life depends on it, because it does. The quality of your life, the results you get, the person you become, it all depends on how you spend your time. Time is not something you make or find. It's something you take control of, or it controls you. You don't need more hours in the day. You need to stop giving your hours to things that steal your future. You don't need a better planner. You need better decisions. Look at how you spend your mornings. Look at how much time you lose in your phone. Look at how long you stay around people who drain your energy. Look at how much time you give to things that don't help you grow. That's your life being traded for nothing. You get one life. That's not a cliché. That's the truth. And if you don't start treating your time like something serious, you'll look back and realize you spent years being busy, but going nowhere. You'll realize you gave your energy to everyone but yourself. That you kept saying yes to everything but your own future. You can't become unrecognizable if your time belongs to everyone else. You can't transform while spending hours on meaningless habits. Growth doesn't fit into leftover minutes. It needs your best hours. It needs your full attention. It needs a schedule that reflects your priorities, not your distractions. People don't lose to failure. They lose to wasted time. You think you have time to keep waiting. You think next week will be better. You think you'll get serious when the pressure hit. But most people never get serious until it's too late. You have to move now. You have to treat every hour like it counts, because it does. You're not too busy. You're too distracted. And that distraction is robbing you of the life you say you want. The truth is, people make time for what matters. If you haven't made time for your goals, it's because something else has taken their place. Maybe it's comfort. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's other people's expectations. But whatever it is, you need to take your time back from it. Start by getting honest about where your time is going. Write it down. Every hour. You'll see what's stealing your life. You'll see how much of your day is lost to things you don't even remember doing. And once you see that clearly, you can't unsee it. That's when the shift begins. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be disciplined. You need to be deliberate. You need to stop doing things just because you've always done them. You need to stop filling your day with noise just to avoid the silence. That silence is where you face the truth. And the truth is, you've been letting too much of your time be controlled by the wrong things. Start waking up earlier, not because it sounds impressive, but because it gives you time to focus before the world starts pulling at you. Cut out the things that waste your evenings, not to be productive every second, but to rest with purpose, not escape from your life. Stop giving your attention to people who don't respect your vision. Stop saying, "I don't have time," when really, you haven't taken control of it. The people who succeed aren't the ones with more talent. They're the ones who protect their time. They guard it. They don't let anyone waste it. They don't give hours to things that don't feed their goals. That kind of mindset makes you dangerous. It makes you powerful, because it means you're not living by accident anymore. You're choosing every moment. You're using every day to build something real. You can't wait for motivation to manage your time. You manage it through systems, through habit, through saying no to what doesn't serve you. Even if it used to, especially if it used to, because that's how people stay stuck. They keep doing what they've always done and expect their life to magically improve. Nothing changes until your calendar changes. Your goals mean nothing if they're not in your schedule. Your dreams mean nothing if you don't make time for them. Your words mean nothing if your actions don't follow through, and your future will mean nothing if your present is wasted on things that only give you short-term comfort. You have to decide what kind of life you want. Then start building it minute by minute. You don't build a new life in a day, but you do start building it in one. And that day starts when you say, "I'm done wasting time." It might mean saying no to people who don't understand. It might mean turning down invitations that pull you off track. It might mean disappointing people who want your time but don't value your priorities. That's part of the cost, and that's why most people never change. They're not willing to pay that cost. But if you are, everything opens up. You start to feel in control again. You start to realize how much time you actually have when you stop giving it away carelessly. You start to see results. Not from doing more, but from doing what matters with full focus. That's where the breakthrough happens. When your actions are aligned with your priorities. When your day reflects who you want to become. Time doesn't wait for anyone. You either lead it, or it leads you. You either take charge or you drift. And drifting is how people end up living lives they never meant to live. Not because they failed, but because they never got serious about their hours. So take it back. Wake up and own your morning. Plan your day with purpose. Cut the noise, cut the fluff, cut anything that doesn't move you forward. That's how you become someone new. Not through more effort, but through better focus. Every minute matters, every hour counts, every day is a step. And when you start living like that, your energy changes, your attitude sharpens, your life begins to reflect your intention. Not eventually, right now. Because once you take back your time, you take back your life. No one can do it for you. No one's coming to fix your calendar. No one's going to organize your priorities. You have to do it. You have to draw the line. You have to decide that from this point on, your time belongs to your goals, not your fears, not your distractions, not anyone else's demands. And when you live like that, you move faster, you move clearer, you feel lighter, because you're no longer carrying the weight of wasted time. You're building something. You're building discipline. You're building clarity. You're building a life that feels right to you, not just looks right from the outside. Take back your time like your life depends on it, because it truly does. And if you don't, you'll spend years chasing a better life while giving your best hours to the wrong things. You'll keep wondering why nothing changes, but once you take it back, even the smallest things start shifting. The quality of your work, your health, your peace, your progress. It all improves, not because time changed, but because you did. And that version of you, the one who knows their time is priceless, is the one who becomes unrecognizable, the one who rises, the one who finally builds the life they've been dreaming about for years, all because they stopped wasting time and started using it like it mattered. Every second, every choice, every day.
Chapter 10. Prove to yourself you can change everything fast. The idea that change has to take years is something most people accept without question. They believe growth must be slow, painful, and gradual, that they need more time, that they have to wait until they're ready, that everything will come together eventually. So they keep putting it off. They keep delaying action. They keep telling themselves they'll start next week, next month, next year. And while they're waiting, nothing improves. The truth is, change doesn't have to take forever. It can be fast. It can be immediate. It can be sharp and powerful and life-altering if you decide to stop waiting and prove to yourself that you have more control than you think. You can change everything the moment you stop making excuses, the moment you drop the lies, the moment you stop telling yourself the same old story about why you can't. Everything you are living right now is built from your choices, and if you made those choices, you can make new ones. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need the stars to align. You just need to stop protecting your comfort and start pushing into your potential. That shift happens fast, when you're ready to stop lying to yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. You've seen people turn their lives around quickly. You've seen people make massive changes in short periods, not because they had some advantage, not because they were lucky, because they got fed up, because they reached a point where staying the same was no longer an option. And when that moment hits you, you won't need motivation. You'll need a plan, a real one you actually follow, one that demands more from you starting now, not later. The reason most people never experience rapid change is because they hesitate, they overthink,
They wait to feel ready, but you don't need to feel ready. You need to take action. You need to prove to yourself that you're not a prisoner of your past, that you're not defined by what you've done or where you've been. You're defined by what you do next. And you can make that shift in a single day. That doesn't mean your whole life changes overnight, but the direction does, the habits do, the standard does. The key is not more knowledge. You already know what needs to be done. The key is urgency. It's waking up and treating your goals like they matter now, not eventually, not someday, but today. You have to move with intention. You have to treat your time like it's limited, because it is. You don't get another version of this day. You don't get a second shot at this hour. If you waste it, it's gone. But when you stop wasting time and start living with clarity, everything speeds up. You start seeing progress where you used to see problems. You start gaining energy where you used to feel stuck. You stop giving your attention to things that pull you backwards. And that shift, once it starts, becomes addictive, because it feels good to move. It feels good to build momentum. It feels good to finally feel like you're in control again. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not stuck. Unless you decide to be. There are people who have been through worse and still managed to flip their entire lives around, not because it was easy, because they decided they were done living at half their potential, because they stopped talking and started acting, because they wanted to feel proud of themselves again. Not later, but now. You can rebuild your mindset in days. If you can create new routines in weeks. If you stay consistent, you can feel like a different person within the month. If you stop going back to what keeps you average. But none of that happens by chance. It happens when you wake up and decide this is it. No more waiting. No more distraction. No more being okay with just surviving. Now it's time to show yourself what happens when you go all in. The idea that you need more time is a trap. Time doesn't create change. Action does. And if you're not using your time well, it doesn't matter how much of it you have. You've already spent enough days hoping things would change. Now it's time to force it, to show up with a new level of focus, to stop treating your goals like options and start treating them like demands. That mindset alone will shift your pace. The reason change feels slow is because you keep doing it halfway. You start, then stop. You commit, then drift. You talk, then delay. That pattern keeps you in the same loop. But when you finally move with full effort, full honesty, full urgency, you change faster than you thought was possible. The hard part isn't learning new things. It's letting go of the habits that keep you slow. It's removing the behaviors you've used as crutches. It's saying goodbye to the version of you that was comfortable but not committed. You have more power than you've been using. You have more control than you've been claiming. The proof is in your decisions. You don't need 100 days to get serious. You need one. One day of full effort can spark everything. One day of saying no to every distraction. One day of staying focused from morning to night. One day of keeping your word. Doing the hard things and not backing down. That's what proves to your mind that you're not the same anymore. That's what builds momentum you can actually feel. And once you feel that momentum, you won't want to stop. You'll want more. More progress, more clarity, more results. Not because you're chasing perfection, but because you're finally living like your life matters, like your future matters, like you're tired of wasting potential. That's not pressure. That's purpose. If you've ever felt stuck, it's because your pace didn't match your ambition. You had the vision, but not the urgency. You had the idea, but not the discipline. That disconnect creates frustration, and the only way to close the gap is to move faster, to move sharper, to move like your future depends on it. Because it does. Your confidence grows fast when you act with power. You don't need to see results right away. You just need to know you're doing the right things with full intensity. That's enough. That alone will shift how you feel, because deep down, You know when you're giving your best and when you're not. You know when you're in alignment and when you're just playing the role. Prove to yourself that you can shift it all, not through words, through action, through the way you wake up, through how you protect your time, through how you respond when things get hard. You don't need anyone to believe in you. You just need to start acting like someone who's already changed. That identity comes before the results. It comes from making decisions that reflect the version of you want to become. It's not too late. You haven't missed your chance, but you have to stop pretending you have forever. Time is moving, life is passing, and you have a choice to make. Keep explaining why you can't, or prove that you can. Keep hoping things improve, or show up and make it happen. Keep waiting for motivation, or build discipline that doesn't care how you feel. This isn't about speed for the sake of rushing. It's about showing yourself that the power has been inside you all along, that you don't need another delay, that you don't need more time, that everything can shift the moment you stop protecting your comfort and start demanding more from yourself. So prove it, not to them, to you. Prove that you can change your patterns. Prove that you can stay consistent. Prove that you can act like someone with goals that matter. Prove that you can be trusted with your own future. Prove it through discipline, through clarity, through daily action. Because once you prove it to yourself, no one can take that away. No doubt can touch it. No failure can shake it. No opinion can break it. Because you'll know what you're capable of. You'll know that you're not stuck. You just hadn't pushed yet. And now that you have, everything is different. Everything is possible. Everything is yours to build. All you had to do was decide to move faster than your feet. And now that you've done that, nothing can stop you.